Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
Welcome to the Dan Bongino Show. Producer Joe, how are you today?
Ready to go, Dano.
Yeah. Hey, breaking news. Rex Tillerson is out as Secretary of State. You may have missed it if you are working and, like most Americans, you have a job and other things on your mind outside of politics. Don't worry. That's what me and Joe are here for. We're here to back you up. We get paid to produce content for you. Tillerson is out. Trump intends to nominate CIA Director Mike Pompeo for the Secretary of State position, and Gina Haspel will take over, who is a career CIA official, will take over at CIA, which is a Senate confirmation position as well. So, breaking news. Don't turn away from the TV for 2 seconds or you will miss the news. Joe had to tell me. Remember Tillerson, so much going on.
Yeah, it is.
Also, big race today. If you live in Pennsylvania in the district, Rick Saccone is running in. Please go out and vote. Saccone is running against Connor Lamb. Please go out and vote today. It's an important race. We cannot afford to lose any more House seats to the Democrats. I assure you they will seek to impeach Trump. There's a special election for the seat vacated by Tim Murphy because of some personal behavior problems he had. He left the seat. The seat is now, it's a district Trump won during the presidential by 20. So please get out and vote. Vote Saccone, who is the Republican in that election.
It is very important that you vote. If you don't,
thousands of Americans would die.
Thank you, Bernie. You know what? We needed that, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, play that again, just in case you missed it.
Thousands of Americans would die.
That's what's going to happen if Connor Lamb wins. Yeah. Very good. That's very. I had you on the small screen. Didn't see you there, so I had a thousands of Americans will die. Please, yeah, it's a joke, folks. Obviously, but get out and vote. Vote Saccone today. We'll see tonight what happens though, because if Connor Lamb does pull this off, the Democrat, and wins a seat in a district Trump won by 20, you can expect the Democrat hysteria, Joe.
Oh yeah,
it's over. It's over. Trump is dead. We're going to impeach him. It's going to be a blue wave, and there may be. Listen, I'm not here to downplay anything. I think the Senate races we're going to do okay, but these House races we may be in a little bit of trouble. So make sure you get out and vote. All right. Today's show brought to you by our buddies at iTarget. Thank you to everybody who's picked up this product. They're one of my favorite sponsors because I spent a lot of my life in law enforcement, and marksmanship matters. We practiced all the time. We had to shoot once a month in the Secret Service, go down to the post office range in D.C., which was always a pain in the butt because you couldn't find parking. Now, although parking may not be a problem, going to your local range, time may be. Getting to the range to practice with your firearm is tough. It's expensive sometimes. You got to clean your weapon afterwards. It's good to go. Don't get me wrong. Please go there as often as you can, but it's tough. I've got a way for you to practice marksmanship at home in the safety and security of your own home. Most of us would dry fire, where we safely unload a weapon, check it twice, look, listen, feel. Listen. Listen for that empty trash. I say that all the time. You know where that comes from, by the way, for those of you who ask, some people have asked me. When you're doing CPR and you're checking for respiration, you're supposed to look, listen, and feel. Listen for them breathing. You're supposed to look, and you're supposed to feel the carotid and feel on the chest, too. So that's where that comes from. But no, seriously, when you're trying to check to see if a weapon is safe, you lock open the chamber, you look inside, you look away, then you look back again just to make sure, and then you finger probe with your pinky to make sure it's a safe and empty weapon. Now you can dry fire it. You can safely pull the trigger. You practice your trigger depression slowly to the rear, equal pressure, equal light on both sides. That's how you practice your marksmanship on a safe and empty weapon, right? Well, the iTarget Pro system will take this to the next level. They will send you a laser round. You don't have to do anything to the weapon you have now. Whatever weapon you have, they will send you a round for it. 9mm, 40 caliber, 357, they will send you one. When you depress the trigger, then the hammer's gonna drop on this laser round. It's gonna emit a laser onto a target they send you. So whereas dry firing, you just get to practice your trigger pull. Now you get to see where the round would have actually went. The iTarget Pro system is a great way to up your marksmanship. People send to me groups that are amazing. They were shooting big basketball type lumpy groups, and then all of a sudden at the end of the week, they're shooting really tight golf ball size groups. So go check it out. The website is the letter I, targetpro.com. That's itargetpro.com. Here's a promo code for you. We love those. You'll save 10%. Promo code Dan, my first name. You'll save 10%. So go check that out, itargetpro.com. We'll be starting up a sponsor section on my website soon, too, because we're getting way too many emails on. We appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. It's not your problem. It's mine. I probably should have done it earlier. But itargetpro.com. Okay, Joe, rather than me trying to set up this outrageously stupid soundbite, I'm just going to play it and comment afterwards.
If you look at the map of the United States, there's all that red in the middle where Trump won. I win the coasts, I win, Illinois and Minnesota, places like that. But what the map doesn't show you is that I won the places that represent 2/3 of America's gross domestic product. So I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward, and his whole campaign, Make America Great Again, was looking backwards. You didn't like black people getting rights, you don't like women, getting jobs, you don't want to, see that Indian American succeeding more than you are. Whatever your problem is, I'm going to solve it.
Hills. Listen, Hills. For those of you who don't know, that was Hillary in India who gave a speech the other day. And again, the excuses. Here we keep going and going. Hills, listen, you're not helping. Matter of fact, you're helping us, which is great. Keep up the speeches, keep humiliating yourself, and keep putting your Clinton surrogates like Felipe Reines or whatever his name is, Rainey's or Reines. He always complains about how you say his last name. I don't really care. Keep putting him on Fox News and make them humiliate themselves by having to defend you. The race is over. It's over. It's over, Johnny. It's over. You lost. Move on. Go. Just go. Go away. You're doing great services for the Republican Party right now by going out and continuing to blame everyone in the known universe for the most atrocious presidential campaign in modern U.S. history, maybe in all of U.S. history. Yeah. It's over. So now her new excuse, just to sum this up in a nutshell, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. It's been done everywhere, and I don't like repeating news. You can see anywhere else. But it's important because it again speaks to the it's going to tie into what I'm going to get to in a minute. The broken, manipulative, lying, scheming Clintons and how they just can't, it's not in them to get out of the spotlight. It's not it. Folks, I lost. Okay, I ran 3 times for office. We almost won one. Almost doesn't count, Hillary. We lost. Joe, I never said, did you ever hear me give a speech anywhere? Because you know me from Maryland. After the election, where I blamed John Delaney, the guy who beat me for the congressional seat by 1 point on an absentee. No, seriously, you've never heard that, right?
No, you never did anything
like that. Have you ever heard me on CBM saying what a jerk he was or anything like that?
No.
Because he wasn't. He was actually a very nice guy. I disagree with him politically. Once in a while we'll still exchange some, communications on things. Just thoughtful words if something happens in our lives. I lost. It's over. I found a different career. I love it. I produce content now. I found my calling. My career in politics is over. Move on. Do you understand that when your life is a vacuum like Hillary? Can I contrasting me and Hillary seems kind of shallow in and of itself, but given that I've lost and I know what it's like, I just feel like a responsibility to speak on this, folks. If you decide to run for office at any level, state, federal, local, I applaud you. I don't recommend it, but I applaud you. For a lot of reasons. That's a whole different conversation, but I applaud you for doing it. It is really, really tough. You are going to knock on, if you do it the right way, thousands of doors. Doors are going to be slammed in your face. You're going to be insulted, in some cases even spit on, and I don't mean that intentionally. I mean, I say that because there are going to be people who get so passionate arguing with you at county fairs that they are literally going to spit on you. They're not trying. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, whoa,
say it, don't spray it.
You got some windshield wipers on that thing? Say it, don't spray. Exactly. Swallow before you talk to me, please. I'm telling you, it happens all the time, and people get so upset at you. And what do? You just take it. There's nothing. You're running for office. There may be future constituents. You can argue. I did, certainly. But you got to take it. What are you going to do? To get a double leg takedown and put him in a triangle choke? There's nothing you can do. It's tough. I applaud you for doing it. Even the Democrats. But when it's your time to get off the stage, please go. It is time for her to go. She's helping the Republicans, but honestly, folks, it's not helping the country. Her new theory now is that the states that didn't vote with her are backwards. Despite the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that many of these states that she's claiming are backwards voted for Barack Obama twice. So were they backwards when they voted for Obama? Again, I'm just trying to get a consistent set of principles liberal wackos like Hillary Clinton believe. So your statement is what? That Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Iowa, states that went for Barack Obama twice, that those states are now backwards because they didn't vote for you. So were they backwards then or are they backwards now? Because, Joe, I could make the case to you using Hillary's own bizarre, crazy, insane logic that that's a racist statement. Now, is it? No. I'm just saying this is what the Democrats, with their own logic, would probably say. If a Republican, so in case you think I'm making this up, Joe, you know where I'm going with this, right? If a Republican were to come out and say the exact same thing, just using different you would be considered a racist. If you were to say, hey, these states have voted twice for Barack Obama, they're so backwards. Oh my gosh, you would be, the racist label would be slammed on your face, Hester Prynne style.
That is code. That is code.
Code, 100% code.
Yeah, baby.
100%. That would be considered a macro, not a microaggression.
Yeah.
But Hillary Clinton says it, and she gets a pass by the mainstream media. It's not a stretch to tell. What I just told you is true. If a Republican were to say the same thing, states have voted twice for Barack Obama were backwards, you would be considered a racist. Yet Hillary Clinton claiming that these states that voted for Donald Trump, many of them, by the way, again, voted twice for Obama were backwards. She says it doesn't matter. They get a pass. I'm just trying to show you they're obviously not racist, folks. I'm not trying to make that case. I'm trying to show you the stupidity, one of these silly liberal arguments that they make that are not based on any principles at all, and how the media, if a Republican were to do it, would frame it in an entirely different way. And that's why people like Hillary continue over and over to get a pass. It is time to move on. I had to find something else to do, something I love. I found my passion. Hillary, she lives in a vacuum. Her vacuum is power. If she doesn't have power, her life is meaningless. What she doesn't understand is there is power in other things too. Listen, Jimmy Carter was an awful president, and some of the things he did post-presidency were pretty awful too. He's become a sympathizer for a lot of groups I can't stand. But some other stuff, maybe he's done some charitable work, maybe he has done some charitable work. Maybe it did some good. But the guy found something else later on. Hillary, just move on. Gosh, enough of you. Get off the stage. Now, I bring this up because when your life revolves around power, the obtaining of power, the abuse of power, the intoxicant of power, it is very hard for you to move on. But what's becoming clearer by the day is it's Hillary's use of power and her misuse of power that led to some very suspicious things. There is a crazy article I saw in Breitbart. I mean that in a good way. It's very well sourced by Aaron Klein that just blew my mind this morning. I will put it in the show notes at Bongino.com. Again, if you subscribe to the email list, which I always appreciate, up to you, of course, I will send you these articles each day that I search the internet for. But there's a really good one by Aaron Klein, which, how do I say this without sounding too over the top, puts a lot of pieces in play for me about this entire operation to hammer the Trump Before we get to that, it's pretty obvious now that the collusion story is a farce. The House Intel Committee came out with their findings yesterday. I'll put another story from Byron York in the show notes today about it. House Intel released their findings. No Russian collusion. There's nothing to say on that. Folks, if you're listening to the show from yesterday on, you don't even have to listen from the beginning. You know the collusion story is a fairy tale. Yeah. It was a myth created, Trump-Russia collusion, to cover for the spying operation of the Obama team on Trump and the unmaskings later on. That's all this is. There's no real case there. There's no there. So the House Intel Committee came out with their findings. There were no collusion. Of course, the networks donated very little time to it because that's what they do. But there's a piece by Klein about a relationship that, remember I always say remember the names, that is going to really bake your bagels here. So it's a piece about Oleg Deripaska. Now, again, I don't like to get too complicated because I know some of you have not listened to the entire series on this. Some of you just jumped in recently. So I'll just sum up how we got to this point, who he is, and it'll be real fast, okay? Deripaska is a Russian oligarch who WikiLeaks releases from our intel community report that he's one of 2 or 3 Russian oligarchs that Putin goes to directly. Like, this is Putin's guy, Oleg Deripaska. Now, if you listen to yesterday's show, Joe, and I always say, remember the names, right? Deripaska himself wrote an op-ed piece at the Daily Caller that's in yesterday's show notes. He wrote it himself. Well, maybe he had someone write it for him, but it's under his name, is what I'm saying. Where he's now claiming that Fusion GPS was funded by it's a George Soros operation. He's saying he heard it from a former Dianne Feinstein Democratic senator staffer who told his lawyer. Bottom line is this Russian oligarch who works for Putin is now saying the operation, the Fusion GPS operation, was funded also by George Soros and other left-leaning groups. I said to you yesterday, folks, be very careful. Some of you emailed me, Dan, Soros is behind everything. Folks, he may be. We know Soros a bad guy. Point stipulated. Do you understand me? I'm 100% with you. My entire life right now, between writing this book on this and my 2 shows at NRA TV and here, are dedicated to uncovering this scandal. What I don't want to do is get into conspiracy theory nonsense and lead you down a path that's going to humiliate you later on. We don't know that yet. And one of the reasons I'm hesitant to accept that piece of information is because it's coming from Deripaska. Now, you read the piece in Breitbart today, you'll understand what I'm saying. This guy is deeply connected to Putin. Now, I have 2 big outstanding questions on this case. Number 1, who sets up that meeting in the London bar between Downer and Papadopoulos that starts this whole investigation? Papadopoulos works for the Trump team. Alexander Downer's connected to the Clinton. They have a personal relationship. He's connected to the Clinton somehow. He meets with Papadopoulos. He's the one who starts the investigation by telling the American intel agencies that Papadopoulos told them the Russians had dirt. Question number 1, how does that meeting start? I said to you yesterday, now there's some information out there from an article I saw that it may be through a girlfriend Papadopoulos had who knew Downer. It's all very suspicious. It sounds to me like it could be a setup. One of the other big questions I had that I alluded to a couple weeks ago, don't forget this one, folks, because I think there may be something going on with the special counsel here. A light bulb went off. Who the hell pushed Manafort into the Trump circle? Paul Manafort was hired as a convention advisor for the Republican convention, and then as a senior campaign official for the Trump team. Yeah. Who pushed him there? Here's the reason I say this. I had to line this out a little bit, okay? Because this may get a little confusing. Deripaska, who is a Putin ally. There's no question about that. They have a very personal relationship. Deripaska was doing business with Manafort. Paul Manafort, and Deripaska had a falling out over a business deal. There was a lawsuit over it. There were some allegations of money being taken under fraudulent pretenses. The bottom line is Deripaska and Manafort had a business falling out and are clearly not on friendly terms for a while. Before Manafort is even hired to work for the Trump team, there's a woman named Alexandra Chalupa who's working at the DNC who already has an operation looking into Manafort and some work he's done in Ukraine, which is a foe of the Russians. The Ukrainians, Crimea was invaded by the Russians, right? So Chalupa already has some kind of intelligence operation going against Manafort. She winds up at the DNC before he's even hired. Deripaska has a relationship with Manafort. They have a falling out. Deripaska clearly has a beef with Manafort. This lady shows up at the DNC who's working intel on Manafort. And now we find out, according to this Breitbart piece, that Jonathan Weiner, who's over at the State Department, who is already acknowledged working with Christopher Steele, the British spy who put together the fake dossier on Trump. Now we find out Weiner, who was working with Steele, and Sid Blumenthal from the campaign, Sid Blumenthal, friend of Hillary Clinton's, known associate of Hillary Clinton's for eons now. We find out Weiner at the State Department's getting info from Steele and Blumenthal. Now, this is interesting. And this really blew me away. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I don't lose you here. In 2005, Deripaska hired a law firm, Alston and Bird, to lobby for him. He wanted them to lobby for him in relationship to a Department of State visa policy. He was being kept out of the country on a recurrent visa, Deripaska, because of some shady business dealings in Russia. Who do you think filed the reports for the law firm? Filed the lobbying reports for the law firm working for Deripaska to fight him being kept out of the country on these visa things? Jonathan Weiner. Folks, this is like a spy novel. You wonder why every day I have new information with this? Because it keeps unfolding, and that's why I keep telling you, remember the names. Memorize them. Every day, it's a new piece of information. You're like, holy, what is going on here? So now we know Deripaska. And by the way, let me just stop here. This is why I'm telling you, be very careful about what Deripaska says about who. Deripaska may very well be working a disinformation campaign right now by knowing Soros, Joe, is going to be a lightning rod for us. Right? Any conservative, of course, hears the name Soros and get him! Get the monster! The pitchfork. They know that. I'm telling you, don't fall into the sucker trap like the liberals. It may be true. It may be. We may find out Soros money funded this whole anti-Trump operation. We may find that out. We don't know that yet. And be damn careful what you hear from a Russian oligarch connected to Putin, who, by the way, now we know is connected to Jonathan Weiner, who we know is connected to Christopher Steele and Sid Blumenthal, who, by the way, was an assistant deputy secretary of state for law enforcement under who? Bill Clinton. So Deripaska is connected to Weiner. Deripaska is connected to Manafort. We know Chalupa at the DNC already has an intelligence operation going on Manafort. We also know, by the way, that Deripaska, Russian oligarch, is connected to Steele. How? Well, if you've been listening to the show, it's obvious. Deripaska's lobbyist, this guy Waldman, it's Adam Waldman, reached out to a Democrat senator, Deripaska's lobbyist, and said, hey, I can set up a meeting with who? Christopher Steele. Who is working with who? Jonathan Weiner at the State Department to get him information that makes it back to the FBI.
Then do it. Yes.
What's that yoga guy? Yeah. Play him again. I
then
miss
do
him.
It. Yes.
One more time.
Then do it. Yes.
Couples retreat. I miss him. Couples retreat yoga guy. Do it. Yes. Do it. Folks, the web of people, the connections here are nearly endless. Deripaska has a lobbyist. The lobbyist clearly knows Steele. He's trying to set up a meeting with Democrat senators in Steele. The same lobbyist working for Deripaska. Deripaska has some relationship to Weiner. Weiner files paperwork to lobby for him when Weiner's working for a law firm. Weiner knows Clinton. He worked for Bill Clinton. Weiner knows Blumenthal. He's already acknowledged in a Washington Post op-ed, Weiner that is, that he was working with Blumenthal, getting information on Trump. Folks, were the Russians driving this damn thing the whole time? This is what I keep trying to tell you. Was this a setup the whole time? Were the Russians involved the whole time in a chaos-building operation in the United States using willful suckers who were so eager to take Trump down that they didn't even realize they were being played the whole time? There were only two plausible scenarios. One... It's my new code, Joe. One of them, editing stuff. You'll get it. I'll explain it later on. One theory here is that they worked with the Russians willingly. That the Clintons knew, and I took a big note on this to make sure that I got to this, that the Clintons knew they could take down Trump by going to the Russians for fake intel, and that they knew their go-to guy to coordinate the whole thing would be Deripaska. Or number two is they were just suckers, so eager to take down Trump that they willingly worked with an oligarch to take him down and kind of turned a blind eye to the fact that this information may have been false. Folks, do not forget the name Deripaska. We have never steered you wrong. Everything we have told you in this case has come true. I told you to remember names. These names have creeped up in the news months later. It's not a celebration. Someone's given me this stuff too. It's not, look at us. I'm just telling you, they got played. Deripaska is deep in this everywhere. And by the way, let me just get back to Manafort a second. So we know Deripaska had business dealings with Manafort. Who does Manafort do business with, especially in the Ukraine operation? John Podesta's brother. John Podesta, Hillary's right-hand man forever. That's his business partner, the Podesta Group on the Ukraine operation. Folks, who sticks Manafort into the Trump sphere of influence? Knowing he's tied to Deripaska, knowing he's tied to Hillary, knowing there's a pre-existing intelligence operation going on within the DNC on Manafort, conveniently ready to release at a moment's notice. Does Manafort know about Deripaska's relationship to Waldman, the lobbyist who has a relationship with Steele? I'm suggesting to you here that there may be things going on behind the scenes you're not aware of. Think about it. How does Manafort get into the Trump circle? Who pushes him in there? Folks, I've never been more convinced this entire time that this was a setup. It was a takedown. They never thought Trump would win. They never thought they would need this. You know what it is? It's like, let me give you just a quick analogy. For those of you who played football, you know those 2-minute drill plays you have at the end of a game? Mm-hmm. And you always have those two ridiculous plays, 2 or 3, right? It's the double reverse. You hand it to the receiver, who hands it to the receiver, who throws it to the quarterback, who runs it. The likelihood of this play succeeding, right, is 1 in 1,000. But you use trickery knowing at the end of a game when you're down, 3, 4 points, 5 points, and you need a touchdown, that if you're on your own 20, the chances of you scoring that touchdown are slim. In other words, you are entirely desperate at that point. You don't see yourself in those situations because you're a dominant team and you see you're going to win. But you always have that one crazy play. In the unlikely scenario, you're losing a game in the last minute or two. You need this trickery play that's going to catch the enemy off guard. That's what this was. Hillary was the 85 Bears. They knew they were going to win every game. They knew it, but they still developed these trickery plays for the last 2 minutes in the event they don't win. They actually lost one. The Dolphins, right? But they always have one of these last-minute trickery plays. That's what this was. I don't think they ever thought they were going to need this. That's why it seems so unbelievable. Like when you hear all this, like, wait, they were dealing with a Russian oligarch who the CIA and the intelligence communities already acknowledged is one of Putin's right-hand guys? I don't think they thought they were ever going to need this. It's the triple-double reverse. It's the Rodney Dangerfield from, what is it, Back to School, the Triple Lindy, right? Was that the Triple Lindy? Remember that? And remember his face, if you've ever seen that movie, he's that, it's the greatest scene ever, the Triple Lindy. That's what this was. It's the crane from the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
When Mr. Miyagi gives him the nod, like, oh, this is a rough one, Ralph Macchio, but give it a shot. It's the crane, the triple Lindy, the Hail Mary, the double triple reverse to the quarterback down the field. That's what this was.
Ooh,
That's why it's so unbelievable.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Give me Yoga Guy again.
Yes.
Yes. That's what this was. That's why it's so crazy. Matter of fact, I'm putting together this book with a researcher and a writer. Finally, we're almost done. And one of the writers I'm working with on this as well, we were going back and forth last night, is like, this is unbelievable. Like, this can't really have happened the way you said it happened. No, it did. This is the way it happened. Deripaska is connected to Manafort. Look it up. Read the links in the Aaron Klein piece. Deripaska is connected to a lobbyist who's connected to Steele. Steele is connected to Jonathan Weiner at State. Weiner's connected to Deripaska through some lobbying efforts where Weiner worked for the law firm that lobbied for Deripaska. Manafort is connected to Clinton's consigliary's brother, Tony Podesta. This is all on record. None of this is in dispute. They needed a fall guy. And they needed the triple Lindy. And that's what this was the whole time. And on election night at around 2 o'clock in the morning, when they all looked at each other and said, holy, they were like, you better get the damn triple Lindy ready. And I don't think they thought they would ever be discovered. Why? Because they had an ace in the deck. Even after they lost the election. What do you think that was? It was the special counsel. It was Mueller. Mm-hmm. How did they know about special counsels and independent counsels? A statute that's since expired? Because the Clintons had already been subjected to one. They knew how this could clog up everything and run a smoke screen. Their ace was not the fact that, let's just now run and hide. Their ace was, let's go on counterattack, nominate a special counsel, and make up this whole farcical, nonsensical collusion thing will so bog down Trump in an investigation that they won't be bothered paying any attention to Deripaska, to Weiner, to Chalupa, to Manafort, to the Podesta Group. None of it. Folks, read this piece. It's a really, really good one. It'll be in the show notes. It's just going to blow your mind. The connections here are just endless between the Clintons, Russian oligarchs, and information that made it to the FBI. All right. Today's show also brought to you by our buddies at Filter By. Thanks. Joe liked that segment.
Yeah, I did.
I'm getting the A-OK from Joe. I got to tell you, folks, and I don't do this often, but because it's my show and I love it, but I respect my audience tremendously. It's why I give out our personal email and I read every one. I was a little disappointed in yesterday's show. I told Joe today. It did very well, by the way. We actually were up from last week, but I don't know. It was something about it. I mean, my energy was good and everything. Maybe it was the daylight saving time for all you people who email me. I called it daylight savings. Oh, people were upset.
Oh, really?
Oh, they were upset. Yes, they are right. It's daylight saving. You know what? Sometimes you just say something dumb. There's no no, I knew, but no, I swear, I had no idea it was daylight saving time. I had heard, I don't know if it's,
I've always heard the plural. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Matter of fact, when I Googled it, I'm like, are these guys, but I always appreciate it. Listen, I am just a dude. I love my show. I do a lot of homework, but sometimes You just say dumb stuff. But yesterday, I was a little disappointed. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was daylight saving time. They got in my melon, but I was determined to bring it for you today. So here we go. All right, today's show brought to you by our buddies at Filter By. There are a lot of screamers and yellers out there, especially on social media, complaining about the environment. You hear it all the time. They scream and yell about our industries polluting the air and destroying the planet. But I'll bet most of them haven't changed their home's air filter since it was installed. I didn't. It was a mess. It's a simple thing, and it can make a huge difference in the air you breathe at home. A lot of us spending a lot of time indoors. Visit my friends at Filter By, America's leading provider of HVAC filters for homes and small businesses. They carry over 600 different filter sizes, including custom options, all shipped free within 24 hours. Plus, they're manufactured right here in America. Yeah. Good job, Filter By. Yeah. Give him a Macho Man for that.
Ooh, yeah.
Nice. Filter By offers a multitude of MERV options all the way up to hospital grade, so you'll be removing dangerous pollen, mold, dust, and other allergy-aggravating pollution while maximizing the efficiency of your HVAC system. Right now, you can save 5% when you set up auto delivery, so you'll never have to think about air filters again. That's the way to go. Who wants to think about that? Save money, save time, breathe better with our buddies at filterby.com. That's filterbuy.com, filterby.com. Thank you so much for supporting our sponsors. It does mean the world to us. They keep the show free for everyone. Sorry about a lot of Macho Man today, but we missed him. It's been a while, and I asked Joe to bring him back for an encore. And it's always nice to have Yoga Guy around as well. All right, what do I get to next? Do I cover Clapper? Let me just quickly mention Clapper because it's important. Let me see what kind of time we got left here. All right, we're good. So there was a revelation about Jim Clapper yesterday, and I just want to throw this out there to show you how devious and manipulative these former Obama administration officials, Brennan, Clapper, Susan Rice, Jim Comey, all of them were. A report broke on SarahCarter.com yesterday, who's done some great work, and I will put that at the show notes as well if you want to check it out. That government sources are telling her that Jim Clapper leaked to CNN the meeting in December of 2016, while Obama's still president, but Trump is president-elect, about the dossier. Now, why is any of this important and why should you care? This is a critical piece of information if true, and Sarah Carter, some really, really good sources. I'll link to the piece. You can read it yourself. I have no reason to dispute what she's saying. She's certainly not ideological. I've met her personally many times and found her to be incredibly smart and dedicated to getting the facts out there. Carter's piece alleges that government sources are saying Clapper leaked this. Now, why is the leak of a December meeting at the White House between Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Obama, and President-elect Trump at the time? It's after the election, obviously, but before he's inaugurated. Why was this important? Because that's the meeting where Comey brings up the dossier. Now, the reason the leak about the meeting is important is the dossier's unverified. It's garbage. Folks, people in the media know it's garbage. They know this thing is crap. They know it's salacious and unverified, as Jim Comey acknowledged himself. But they so desperately want to take down Trump that they need to report on it. But they can't report on the dossier. Because if they do, they're opening themselves up to some severe liability, as BuzzFeed did, who was promptly sued for printing the dossier. I can't write a dossier on Joe that's fake. You know, that Joe doesn't take his garbage out on Tuesdays. He's guilty of felonious mopery. Yeah. I can't do that and print an article on it without opening myself up to potential legal liability, especially if I've made no effort whatsoever to verify the authenticity of said information. I can't do that. There's some legal standards there. Now, you may win or lose the lawsuit, especially when it comes to public figures, where there's a lot of latitude built into the system. Believe me, I know. There's been some stuff written about me that's so ridiculous, and I've had lawyers tell me there's nothing you can, even though you know it's easily proven false. They're like, dude, don't even bother. You're a public figure, so you move on. But there is no question that there is potential legal liability. The media wanted this dossier out there with the golden showers nonsense and everything else, but they couldn't put it in the papers. So they needed an in. They needed an angle. And what was their angle? Their angle was going to be a meeting with Trump where he was briefed on the dossier. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what did it say? Well, let's tell you. Here's what it said. This is genius.
Yeah.
And it's insanity. And it's sickness. And it's derangement. This is a genius plan. So you figure all these jokers in the Obama-Clinton team probably get around and go, listen, we got this dossier. Everybody knew they had it at that point. They're probably saying to themselves, Joe, sounds like a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
You get it. But we got to get this to the press. You know, Trump, golden showers. This is really horrible stuff. He conspired to overthrow the election with Putin. Is any of this real? Nah, probably not. But we got to get it to the press. What do we do? Well, we can't give it to the press. They're not going to print this. They're open to legal liability. I've got an idea. Let's bring Trump in for a meeting. And in that meeting, let's brief him that the dossier exists. And then let's leak to CNN that we briefed him on the dossier, therefore making the news story, not the dossier, but the briefing, knowing people are going to do what then, Joe? Well, what does it say in the dossier? Genius.
And simple. Simple.
And simple. What an elegant solution to your depravity. But it was critical that they determined
So simple.
that it was leaked. They had to figure that out first. And Carter, through her sources, this is why this is such a colossally epic, important piece of information. If Clapper, it is conclusively determined, was the leak to CNN about the meeting, folks, now we're talking. It's almost irrefutable that the Obama administration and their higher up intelligence officials, Clapper and Brennan, were read in on this plot the whole time. That the dossier was going to be the tool to discredit Trump. The dossier was gained in conjunction with the Russians and work with the Hillary Clinton campaign. The dossier was salacious. We can't give it to the press. But if we brief Trump on it, we can give a story to the press about the briefing. The story becomes the briefing, and then it spurs people to look at what the dossier is in the first place, getting it into the public space. Sick, deranged. Folks, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. So that's out there. I'll put a piece, the piece from Sarah Carter up at the up Bongino.com. Bongino.com. Check that out. All right. Finally, today's show brought to you by our buddies at Brick House Nutrition. By the way, I got one more story for you. Quick thing about economics and the Phillips curve. Big argument right now going on about inflation and it's and the economy. It's important. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding. Before we get to that, today's show brought to you by our buddies at Brick House Nutrition, one of my favorite and original sponsors. They've been around forever. They have some of the best nutrition products on the market. These guys are young and hungry. They produce some really, really incredible products. And my favorite product now is Field of Greens. I worked with them on this. I love this product. I was taking another fruit and vegetable supplement because I am an avid believer in the power, the micronutrients, the macronutrients, the vitamins and minerals in fruits and vegetables, folks, for health, for long life. I need it. My body is really beaten up from all the lifting and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff. I need good nutrition. It's God's medicine right there. I was taking another product and I said, you know what? One, it didn't taste that great and it was extracts. So I said to Miles, can you guys do a whole food supplement, like real food, real blueberries, real fruits, real vegetables? Can you do that? Kale, some of the stuff you'd never get your hands on otherwise. They said, of course we can. So it took a long time to make it. But it tastes delicious. I love it. It's my Kool-Aid. Thank God it's not bad for you like Kool-Aid. It's just actually good for you. But it's absolutely delicious. It's got a little bit of cherry, a little bit of licorice, but it's got exotic fruits and vegetables in there you're not going to get in your diet. It's like a fruit and vegetable insurance plan. Go check it out. Comes in a small container. Take a scoop, 2 scoops a day, and put it in water, put it in green tea. I put it in V8 sometimes. I throw some collagen in there. It's my superfood. Go check this stuff out. It's called Field of Greens. It's available at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. It's called Field of Greens. Check it out. Okay. I wanted to bring this up because there's a fascinating op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today by Larry Kudlow and Steve Moore. Larry Kudlow is in the news because he may be Trump's next economic advisor here now that Gary Cohn has stepped down. Kudlow is a really, really good guy. I like Larry Kudlow a lot. He has, I think he has a radio show that's on weekends or at night. I've heard it a couple times. He's an excellent guest. I've interviewed him before, even at when I was at CBM filling in for Sean Hannity. One time I had Larry Kudlow on where Joe works. They were kind enough to lend me their studio. Great guy. And he he makes some great points. One of the Larry Kudlow gems I've heard over the years that you should take with you is the greatest, largest take-home pay tax cut in modern American history. Who do you think it was? I'm not talking percentages, folks. I'm talking about the actual amount of money you were going to take home after the tax cut. Most people say, Ronald Reagan. You'd actually be wrong. This is a gem from Kudlow. The largest take-home pay tax cut, Joe, was John F. Kennedy.
Oh.
Kennedy cut the tax rate, the top rate, from 90%, a ridiculous 90%, to 70%. Reagan later on cut it in increments from 70 to 28. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense. How would you get more take-home pay from 90 to 70 rather than from 70 to 28? Well, when you do the math, it's actually pretty simple. If that dollar being taxed at 90%, so that you get what? You get 10 cents out of it, right? You get $1, it's taxed at 90%. The government takes 90 cents, you take 10. If it's now taxed at 70, you then take home 30 cents. So you went from 10 to 30. But then do the math for 70 to 28, and you'll figure the take-home pay is larger for the 90 to 70 than it was from the 70 to the 28. The math is pretty simple on it. Because think about it, 70, it's rounded up to 30, right? So you say it's at 70, because I know I'm going to get emails on this. Some people get a little, I can see it already. Yeah. At 70%, the rate it was when Reagan took office, you're taking home what on that dollar? You're taking home 30 cents. The government takes 70. Just round it up to 30 for even math. So you're taking home 30. You're taking home 30 cents on the dollar, right? Mm-hmm. At the new rate of 28, roughly 30%. So you figure you're taking home. Then you're taking home 70 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. So you went from 30 cents take home to 70 cents. So 30 to 70, you're a little more than double. Mm-hmm. But from 10 cents to 30 cents in the Kennedy tax cut, you're almost tripling. You are tripling your take home. Mm-hmm. It's actually a greater percentage take home pay cut than it was under Kennedy. Does that make sense, Joe? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff, but it was one of the great gems I took from Larry Kudlow. Now, Kudlow, it may, in fact, get this position. He wrote a great piece today, and there's a big debate going on right now, and there's some worry in the stock market that this tax cut is going to impose upon us a period of heightened inflation. Folks, I don't want to beat this point to death, but this is based on silly, debunked, nonsensical liberal economics, okay? Liberals have relied forever on this nonsensical equation, this curve called the Phillips curve. And the theory of the Phillips curve is that inflation and unemployment will generally move in the opposite direction. As inflation goes up, unemployment goes down. Yeah. As unemployment goes down, like it is now, inflation goes up. Now, the stock market doesn't like inflation. Why is that? Because if you're making 6% returns on your stocks and inflation is 7%, Joe, are you making money? No, you're actually losing money. Because you're making 6% returns, but your money is losing value at the rate of 7%. Right. So the stock market hates inflation. So there's kind of been some rumbles in the stock market that, remember, Joe, I told you, if you believe in the Phillips curve, this is largely a liberal thing. And, sadly, some Republicans believe in this debunked garbage, too. They believe as unemployment goes down, which it is now, that inflation's going to go up. So they see economic growth and unemployment going down like it is under Trump because people are getting jobs in a growing economy, Joe, as a dangerous sign that inflation may be right around the corner. Now, inflation may be right around the corner, but it's not related to unemployment. Milton Friedman's done tremendous work on this, God rest the man's soul. This is a monetary phenomenon, inflation, involving the printing of money and the creation of value out of thin air. It is not in a causal sense related to unemployment. Now, you may say, well, how do you know that? Folks, it's important you understand this because liberals love to point this stuff out. Because think about it then. Sometimes they say, ask a question, don't make a statement, it'll probe people's minds. Why would liberals love an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment? In other words, why would liberals love when unemployment goes down, inflation goes up? Or, pay attention, Why would they love when inflation goes up, unemployment goes down? Why would a liberal like that? A liberal would love that because when you have a fake independent government entity like the Federal Reserve, which is really linked into the government, don't believe the nonsense. Of course, there's always going to be political pressure to do things or not do things. What does printing more money then, Joe, enable you to do? Lower unemployment, if you believe in the Phillips curve, right? So you get it?
Yeah.
So if you're a liberal who believes in the power of government, the power of central banks, and the power to create value out of thin air, you love the Phillips curve because what does it say, Joe? It says inflation goes up, unemployment goes down. Oh, so let me get this straight. We can just print the hell out of money?
Yeah, there you go.
And then we can lower unemployment. Liberals love the Phillips curve. The Phillips curve is junk. It's garbage. How do we know that? Because during the Carter years, inflation went up. Now, according to the Phillips curve, unemployment should have went down. Unemployment went up almost as fast. So, Joe, let me do this in a visual for you.
All right.
Here's my left hand. Inflation. What is my left hand doing, Joe? Is it moving up or down?
It's going up.
It's going up. Okay, so inflation's going up. Yeah. Here's my right hand, Joe. You are the audience ombudsman. Right. You're going to give them the visuals. What is unemployment doing? Is my hand going up or down?
Your hand's going up, Dan.
It's going up. Oh! So under Carter, inflation and unemployment went up. That's not what the Phillips curve says. The Phillips curve can't be true if the fundamental relationship of the Phillips curve, inflation goes up, unemployment goes down. If inflation goes up and unemployment goes up too.
All right.
And in the Reagan years, what happened then? We're going to do this slow for liberals. Joe, here's what happened in the Reagan years.
All right.
Here's inflation on my left hand. What direction's my left hand going?
It looks like it's going down, Dan.
It's going down. You would be right. Ding, 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 ding. In the Reagan years, here's my right hand.
All right.
Unemployment, Joe. Which direction is my hand going?
Dan, it's going down.
It's going down. Visuals help here. Inflation went down in the Reagan years, and so did unemployment. Folks, the Phillips curve is crap. It's garbage. Liberals promote it simply because they want you to believe that the government somehow, through its tacit power and influence over central banks, can create money and value out of thin air and influence the economy. Through unemployment, that is. They certainly can influence inflation by printing the hell out of money. But they love the Phillips curve. The relationship is garbage. You know what it reminds me of? For those of you, I don't know, maybe this is a blast from the past for many of you. When I was young, I used to watch the Knicks, New York Knicks, the Knickerbockers on Channel 9. I used to, Patrick Ewing and that whole team, Bernard King and them. And Marv Albert, who it's had some issues, but Marv Albert used to call the games. And the Knicks used to really suck bad. I don't know any other way to say it. They were really awful for years until Patrick Ewing came in and they turned it around. They were one of the worst teams in the NBA forever. And Marv Albert used to have at the end of the fourth quarter, where the Knicks would traditionally be down by about 30 points in the game, he used to call it, some of you may remember this, extensive garbage time, where I don't even know how many men are on an NBA roster, 12 or whatever, I don't know. But extensive garbage time was like the 15th guy on a 12-man roster, including like the locker room kid, got on the court to play because they didn't want to get their stars hurt. Their stars is kind of funny because their stars lost the game by 30. But extensive garbage time, that's what he used to call. I used to watch extensive garbage time because it was really funny. It was like extensive garbage time was like a park game, like you were playing in the park because nobody cared. The game was already over. We're now in extensive garbage time when it comes to coverage and our economics of the media. This is it. Phillips curve is extensive garbage. That's what it is. Don't believe it. Don't believe the hype. It's nonsense. It's a liberal fairy tale meant to dissuade you from the idea that the economy is built around value, not government influence over the printing of money. Hey, since I have a minute here, just one final thing. Please check out my NRA TV show tonight. I appreciate all of you who have tuned in. NRATV.com, 5:30 Eastern Time. We'll be live every single night for you. We do some new content, some content you may have heard in a different way, but you're going to like it. I appreciate you spreading the word. And one final story to leave you with, because it's a little bit disturbing. There was a poll put out recently on college campuses about support for free speech. Folks, this is troubling stuff. I don't mean to leave you in a bad mood, but I say it because these college kids are our kids. And I am doing my best to inoculate my daughter against nonsensical far-left ideas like the government somehow can and should be the dominant force in your life. But sometimes we're losing. And a lot of these kids are going to college campuses and we are losing. Here are the results of the poll. This poll was on free speech on college campuses, by the way. It's covered in Legal Insurrection today. 56% of college students, Joe, support disinviting speakers they don't agree with.
Whoa.
Ouch. It gets worse. 37%, nearly 4 out of 10, support shutting them down while they're speaking. This part is mind-blowing. 10% support using violence to shut down those speakers on college campuses.
What?
1 out of 10 kids on a college campus where your kid may soon be going supports using actual violence to shut down speakers. Listen, unless we know and understand and fully grasp what the other side is doing to indoctrinate our kids, it's going to be nearly impossible to inoculate our kids against it. Folks, this is big time trouble. Pay really close attention to what's going on with your kids on these college campuses. Talk to them. I'm doing my best now. My daughter's not even in college. She's 4 years away, but I'm doing my best. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please check out my show tonight, and please check out the show notes at Bongino.com. Means a lot. Thank you so much.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. Get more of Dan online anytime at conservativereview.com. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at DBongino.